favorite, your friend by your bedside. The latest hits and the greatest memories. Information, news, sport, music and entertainment, requests and dedications. 99.5 FM.
A pleasant good morning and welcome to Newsnet, 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Today is June 5th and I'm Olive Stevenson anchoring this edition. This newscast is relayed on the Voice of Hope in Plebo, Sodican, Maryland County. In our headlines, CDC's propose government too difficult to handle individually by opposition parties. A former governing Unity Party, longtime opposition Liberty Party, and newcomers Alternative National Congress join ranks to tackle government and its policies. Public Works Minister Mambutu Yimpan goes on Capitol Hill in defense of the passage of the $536 million Eton loan, says the country needs the money for the development. At launch of the Claho Foundation, Minister of State says government is not moved by criticism from the public, but you said country manager Anthony Chen challenges government to adopt policies that are achievable. And away from Liberia, $11,000 stolen from former Nigerian footballer Kanun on his way from Russia capital Moscow. Our top stories, the news bulletin, the actual voices of those making the news, including foreign developments, are all packaged in this edition, including your text reaction coming into our Facebook page. We're taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back to Newsnet. Up next is the Bulletin of News and Augustine KOLLIE. Good morning, Augustine.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning, everyone. 3 opposition political parties in Liberia have renewed collaborative efforts aimed at checkmating the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change administration. That include the Unity Party, Alternative National Congress, and the Liberty Party. Reading a joint statement Monday at the Liberty Party headquarters, Jacob Smith added that the collaboration seeks the continued evolution of Liberia's democracy. The Liberty Party Secretary General quoted the statement as saying the 3 parties will remain their independent identities and leadership while they collaborate to articulate common solutions and alternatives to Liberia's challenges. According to him, they remain committed to holding the CDC-led government accountable to the Constitution and its people. He added that the political leaders from the 3 collaborating parties would meet along with the League and other party actors to work out the legal framework and other political modalities. Smith then called on partisans of the collaborating parties, Liberians, including other opposition parties, to join their ranks. The renewal of collaboration amongst the 3 parties comes after their defeat in the last year's representative and presidential elections. The parties, in their collaboration during the 2017 elections, challenged the electoral process on several occasions on allegations of irregularities. The latest front remains unclear as to whether the collaboration will remain in existence for future elections in the country. Popular Works Minister Mambutu Yimpan has emphasized the need for the national legislature to ratify the $536 million United States loan financing agreement between the Ayrton Financing Pte. Limited and the Liberian government. President George Weah recently submitted to the national legislature for ratification of the financing loan agreement intended to pave the southeastern roads, Barplood and Grand Cape Mount roads, respectively. Commenting on the importance of the loan agreement before the legislature in a public hearing Monday, Minister Yimpan said the country is challenged with good roads, a reason he wants the loan ratified. He noted that the country has about 11,000 kilometers of road network, with 94% being unpaved. He, however, mentioned that such loan, when ratified, will alleviate the huge transportation constraints faced by Liberians when commuting their products to other nearby counties. Also speaking, Justice Minister Musa Din said the loan agreement entered into between the Eton Finance and Pty Limited and the Liberian government met all legal requirements as contained in the Constitution of Liberia, as well as the host of international protocols. Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel McGill says the Liberian government will not be deterred by the huge wave of criticism from the public. Minister McGill also wants ministers of government to keep the focus despite the negative criticism from the public since the inception of President George Weah's government. Speaking in Monrovia Monday, he indicated that criticism from the public must be a positive one geared towards the transformation of Liberia. The Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, however, reassured the local and international partners of the government's commitment to changing the situation of the Liberian people around. Clap Hope Foundation, an institution owned and operated by the First Lady Weah, has been launched in Monrovia. The launch of the Clap Hope Foundation focuses on 4 strategic goals, which include good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality and decent work, and economic growth. The launch of the program also witnessed the attendance of an array of top government officials, including members of the diplomatic corps, as well as local and international organizations. Speaking at the launching program in Monrovia Monday, First Lady Weah said the establishment of her foundation in Liberia is to cater to less fortunate people, including women and children in the country. Madam Weah noted that her initiative would also seek to rehabilitate about 200 primary schools, including 58 licensed orphanages in Liberia. She further stressed the need for partnerships with both local and international organizations geared towards achieving her goals as part of the vision of the organization. Also making brief remark, Vice President Joel Howard Taylor commended the First Lady for setting up of a foundation to cater to less fortunate people in Liberia. Vice President Taylor expressed optimism that the Clap Hope Foundation will be great things in the lives of Liberians. The Chief of Operation Officer of the Zone 6 police station in Montserrat County has been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for manslaughter. In March 2017, Jamel Roberts was indicted for allegedly stopping a motorcyclist, Fidesco Chie, to death in Vanjaman, Montserrat County. According to the indictment, the deceased and his brother were on a motorbike, were heading home on the night of the incident when Officer Robert got on another bike, chased them, and demanded them to return to the police station. The indictment further that when the deceased refused to yield to the demand, Officer Robert took a knife and stabbed the deceased, who was later pronounced dead upon arrival at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital. Meanwhile, the judge has ordered the incarceration of Officer Roberts for 5 years, including 1 year 5 months he has already spent in prison. Finance and Development Planning Minister Samuel Twell has described investment in agriculture and human resources as the surest way to sustainable development in Liberia. He said the sources of the Weah administration depends on the level of funding provided to these sectors. He stressed that grants provided by the World Bank and IMF to the CDC-led government will go towards improving the capacity of Liberians. He told a team of executives from the World Bank at the weekend that prioritizing the areas of agriculture and improving human capacity will boost rapid economic development for the country. A Nigerian pastor who was recently arrested by the Liberia National Police for counterfeiting more than $486,000 has been charged and sent to court. Amos Aladei was arrested on May 26, 2018, when a team of police officers moved on him at his Dwazon residence. According to police investigation, Aladei, in a written document, admitted that he has been involved with counterfeiting long before he became pastor. According to him, he decided to keep the balance counterfeited dollars in his ceiling after infusing some quantity on the Liberian market. The United States Agency for International Development Mission Director Anthony Chan wants the government to adopt policies and strategies that are attainable and achievable. Chan, speaking in Monrovia Monday, also stated that policies earmarked by the government of President George Weah must also entail the solutions intended to address challenges the country is faced with. The Youth Mission Director also underscored that the government must also manifest the political will that match the huge expectations of the Liberian people. Dr. Anthony Chan further called for more attention to be given to the health and education sectors as well as the empowerment of young people in Liberia. The African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, a national public health institute from the continent, have converged in Monrovia for a two-day forum to deliberate on data warehousing, sharing, and timely use for public health impact. The two-day forum is intended to enhance data acquisition, warehousing, and use by participating national public health institutes in Africa and 5 regional coordinating centers in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Mozambique, and Namibia. Speaking at the start of the forum in Monrovia Monday, National Public Health Institute of Liberia Director General Tobo Nyanswa said such gathering was important as Liberia is building a resilient health system in the country. He told delegates attending the forum that Liberia has made enormous gains, judging from the fight against the deadly Ebola virus in the country. Also speaking, the country director of the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. John Incarson, expressed joy for the collaboration among public health institutions through the sharing of data collection. And the Ministry of Transport has refuted reports that it failed to carry out the much publicized vehicle inspection that was scheduled to take place Monday, June 4, 2018. Speaking to this station, the head of the inspection division at the Ministry of Transport, Abraham Johnson, said the exercise is ongoing as promised. He said the ministry is currently holding talks with the Liberia National Police and other stakeholders in the sector to design strategies on how to track down individuals who have failed to comply with the ministry's regulations. Despite the clarity from the Ministry of Transport, our reporter who told Monrovia observed that there was no regular joint vehicle inspection exercise by the Ministry of Transport and other government entities. But in conversation with this station Monday evening, the head of the inspection team further disclosed that the inspection kicked off Monday with key focus on garage owners in the country. That's T-Noon's Bulletin.
We would like to say many thanks to you, Augustine KOLLIE, for filling us in with the latest from our news center. Well, if you're just tuning in, the program you're listening to is Newsnet on OKFM 99.5. Stories we following this morning. CDC's proposed agenda too difficult to handle individually by opposition parties. Former governing Unity Party, longtime opposition Liberty Party, and newcomers Alternative National Congress join ranks to tackle government and its policies. Public Works Minister Mambutu Yimpan goes on Capitol Hill in defense of the passage of the $536 million Eton loan, says the country needs the money for development. At launch of the Clark Foundation, Minister of State says government is not moved by criticism from the public, but USAID's country manager Anthony Chen challenges government to adopt policies that are achievable. And away from Liberia, $11,000 stolen from former Nigerian footballer Kanu on his way from Russia's capital, Moscow. With that, we take our first development. Three opposition political parties in Liberia have renewed collaborative efforts aimed at checkmating the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change administration. They include the Unity Party, Alternative National Congress, and the Liberty Party. Reading a joint statement Monday at the Liberty Party headquarters, Jacob Smith added that the collaboration seeks to continue evaluation of Liberia's democracy.
This is a joint statement expressing the intent of 3 registered political parties to collaborate within the political landscape of our country. Our young democracy continues to evolve. Thanks to you, the recent elections and transition of power from one democratically elected government to another of a different political party deliver a major milestone in our democratic evolution. To ensure our continued democratic evolution and to protect our hard-won and fought-for freedoms, the Unity Party, the Liberty Party, and the Alternative National Congress have decided to collaborate in the interest of the Liberian people to ensure the continual evolution of our democracy. While all 3 parties will maintain their independent identities and leadership, we will collaborate to articulate common solutions and alternatives to our country's challenges. We will also collaborate to hold the CDC-led government accountable to our Constitution and to our people. Subsequently, the political leaders from the 3 collaborating parties will meet along with the legal and appropriate teams to work out the legal framework and other political modalities. We thank all of our partisans and all Liberians for their belief and support and call on other well-meaning opposition parties to join ranks.
Jacob Smith there reading the joint statement from the 3 political parties. Public Works Minister Mabutu Nyimpan has emphasized the need for the national legislature to rectify the $536 million United States loan financing agreement between the Eton Financing Pte. Limited and the Liberian government. Commenting on the importance of the loan agreement before the national legislature in a public hearing Monday, Minister Mabutu Nyimpan said the country is challenged with good roads, a reason he wants the loan rectified.
The reasons why I believe that the purpose for this loan, that is, the construction of over 500 kilometers of paved roads, is an urgent necessity which deserves the support of every well-meaning Liberian. Our country, Liberia, after 170 years of independence, is in a sad state of underdevelopment. Most of our infrastructures, especially roads, are in a deplorable state, and traveling throughout Liberia has become a nightmarish and hazardous undertaking for most of our citizens, especially those who live in rural communities. Statistics reveal that Liberia has a total road network of about 11,000 kilometers. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, honorable legislators, it will, however, interest you to know that out of the 11,000 kilometers of roads in Liberia, we have under 1,000 of roads, under 1,000 kilometers of roads paved. Hence, about 94% of the roads in our country are unpaved, and most often than not, unpliable and accident-prone, especially during the rainy season. Year in and year out, since independence, our people are subjected to extreme difficulties in the transportation of goods and services. Whether it is the Vubadi Road in Sino County, the Vahum Road in Lofa, the Bazon Road in Grenjida, the Blood Diala Road in Nimba, the Bloziotown Road in Riverses, Southtown Road in Grand Cru County, the Belayala Road in Bapolu, or even the Todi Road in Mosorado County, everywhere.
Mabutu Nyimpan is the Minister of Public Works. Also speaking, Justice Minister Musa Dane said the loan agreement entered into between the Eton Financing Pte. Limited and the Liberian government met our legal requirements as contained in the Constitution of Liberia as well as the host of international protocol.
And we have also reviewed the documents comprising the loan financing agreement, and after due diligence have reached the conclusion, and we wish to advise this body that all internal procedures, including approvals, consents, and authorizations required by the Constitution and laws of the Republic of Liberia for the negotiation and signing of the loan financing agreement have been taken, fulfilled, and observed. that the loan financing agreement was duly signed and executed by the Minister of Finance and Development Planning and the Minister of Public Works of the Republic of Liberia, and that the Ministers of Finance and Development Planning and the Minister of Public Works are authorized by law to execute the loan financing agreement for and on behalf of the Republic of Liberia. The loan financing agreement, when ratified by this honorable legislature, shall constitute a valid and legally binding obligation on the government of the Republic of Liberia and shall be enforceable in accordance with the terms and conditions of the agreement. That is our legal opinion. And having said that, we want to add one or two comments.
Justice Minister Musa Dane. Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel McGill says the Liberian government will not be deterred by the huge wave of criticism from the public. Minister McGill also wants Minister of Government to keep the focus despite the negative criticism from the public since the inception of President Weah's government.
It tells you that we have a lot of work to do, particularly to the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education. We have a challenge to change the situation around, and as a government, I'd like to assure you, our distinguished partners, that our government, under the distinguished leadership of our dynamic President George Manuel Weah, that we are very committed in changing our situation. And we ask you to continue to stand with us. We know things will not be 100% perfect, but we are very determined to make sure we do our best. Our government will not be deterred by the level of criticism. I want to urge you, Minister, to keep your focus, because this is a challenge that we have. We went to election in 2017. People of Liberia gave you a mandate. You have to do what is right for our citizens, not listen to what people have to say in a negative way. The President says sometimes criticism is good, because criticism strengthens you. When they criticize you, find the good in the criticism and try to correct what is correct. I want to urge you, as you leave from here today, continue to remain strong.
Minister of State for Presidential Affairs Nathaniel McGill. The Clark Hope Foundation, an institution owned and operated by the Liberian First Lady Clark Weah, has been launched in Monrovia. The launch of the Clark Foundation focuses on 4 strategic goals, which include good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, and decent work and economic growth. Speaking at the launching program in Monrovia Monday, First Lady Clark Weah said the establishment of her foundation in Liberia is to cater to less fortunate people, including women and children in the country.
The foundation focuses on 4 strategic pillars, namely education, health, gender equality, and economic development. Under these areas, the foundation will undertake tangible projects such as the construction of a maternity hospital, ensuring other health support initiatives, advocating against various forms of violence against women, implementing agriculture productivity program for rural and urban women, building and renovating schools, constructing a City of Hope community where orphans, street girls, and drug addicts, youth can be rehabilitated and educated. These are just a few of what I want to do through my foundation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I established the Clark Hope Foundation in February this year. Out of my passion to help Liberians, especially the disadvantaged, move towards prosperity, therefore supporting the pro-poor agenda for the Liberian government. As the First Lady of Liberia and Mother of the Nation, I want to show Liberians that someone cares about them. I realize that our people are in dire need. Many of them, especially the underprivileged, are living in poverty. So, wherever we are, whether at the orphanages or the old folks' home, on the streets or even in the ghettos, I want to be there for them. I want to give them hope for a brighter future. I want to provide them.
Liberia's First Lady KOLLIE. Also making brief remarks, Vice President Joe Howard Taylor commended the First Lady for setting up of a foundation to cater to less fortunate people in Liberia. Vice President Taylor expressed optimism that the Cloud Hope Foundation will do great things in the lives of Liberians.
But I want to say to our mother and our First Lady, we are grateful that you've taken your mantle of authority and beginning to impact the lives of the people of Liberia. Our President George Manewia began a process of talking about a pro-poor agenda. For me, it simply means making Liberia work for Liberians. That means is that each of us in our different spheres of life must do what you can to make a difference. I listened to the stories about things happening in our nation of which we are all aware. Our focus must not be on all of the negatives or else we wouldn't do anything. It must be on what you can do. We know that the Clear Hope Foundation will do great things in our nation, and we give our fullest support. We want to thank those who've come from far and near, members of the cabinet and other officials of government and friends of Liberian businesses, for coming and bringing your contribution to a worthy cause. I know very well that her heart is in the right place and that she will do the best by the help of God to make the impact that she so desires. A lot has been said, and when you're the last on the list, there's not much you can say because it's already been said. I would like to, in my own name, provide a check of $2,500 as my initial contribution.
Vice President Joe Howard Taylor. Finance and Development Planning Minister Samuel Toy has described investment in agriculture and human resources as a surest way to sustainable development in Liberia. He said the success of the WIA administration depends on the level of funding provided to these sectors.
All of the investments we're making is about human development. We're not investing in roads so that the roads sit there. We're investing in roads so that human beings can leverage that road to have higher income. Okay? That's what. So it's all about the human beings, their health, the quality of their education. Any society is about that. You know, I just came from South Korea. I think about the amazing things that are happening in South Korea. All right, and I made the point at the African Development Bank. You know, we're going through a general capital increase, and there's this debate about whether we should support a general capital increase for the bank. And I made the argument that think about South Korea. South Korea got $2.5 billion from the United States in 1950. This was more than all countries combined that the World Bank gave to all countries combined. In today's time, that is 25 billion. So when you think about it, one country got 25 billion. The African Development Bank is giving 54 African countries that same amount of money over a 4-year period. So you can clearly see that the Asian countries got a big jump start. But the point here is that they made significant effort with that jump in human development, in technology, in skills. This is where African countries need to catch up. We need to spend more money on quality teachers, spend money on training our doctors. Think about the last 12 years. I, as Minister of Finance, now have to look, and people are calling me to pay school fees. Whose school fees am I paying? They're asking me to pay people who are studying global studies. I should spend $150,000 on a local scholarship for somebody doing global studies. I should be sending that money for somebody doing medicine or neurology. We don't find that. So there's been a misprioritization the way we've invested in human capital. That's going to change under President Weah. We're going to launch a new program sending electrical engineers, technologists, doctors to advanced studies. That's where we want to spend the money. All right? So human capital is critical in that sense.
Samuel Toy is the Minister of Finance and Development Planning. Let's now take some of your text reaction coming into our Facebook page. This one says, good morning, OKFM News, Annette and the people of Liberia. OKFM lets me begin this morning by appreciating the 3 political parties for the collaboration and hope this collaboration brings the needed change we Liberians long awaited as the UPLP and ANC engage the CDC-led government constructively on issues of national concerns that are directly affecting the livelihood of the suffering masses. Secondly, OKFM, I'm calling on First Lady Claudia and her surrogate minister, Miguel, to raise their own funding for whatever humanitarian or foundational purpose she, Mrs. Weah, wish to undertake. Allocating over $1 million to her personal purse is in the name of humanitarian purpose. While our hospitals are in poor conditions, pregnant women are dying, and doctors are being underpaid. Said allocations, if directed to the sector, will greatly help in reducing infant mortality and underage pregnancy. Finally, while it is true we are not against development, but I'm calling on the legislators to thoroughly scrutinize said agreement that is centered around controversy from birth till now. Remember that development is good, but the rightful deal must be rectified to save the state a future uncertainty. And this one is from J. Napoleon McGill. This one says, good morning, OKFM, and good morning to the peace-loving people of Liberia. I'm George Xavier Nambwe, and I write from the most organized district in Mansurado, District 11. OKFM, I must commend the three political parties, UP, LP, and ANC, for their farsightedness in seeing the need to establish a collaboration. If you guys continue to engage this government positively in unison, trust me, it will be another opposition victory in 2023. As it relates to other issues, let this government be aware that they will be strongly criticized, whether negative or positive. Criticism paves the way for reformation. To conclude, I'm not against development, especially one that has to do with the road, but I don't have any trust for the Eaton Financing PTE Limited. I'm calling on President Weah to avoid any loan that will sell our country. We are closely following this loan. Trust me, OKFM, the motherland will never fall. George Xavier Nambwe is right. And this one says, when did Nathaniel follow Miguel? Know that criticism is not necessary. OKFM, Nathaniel Miguel, as an assistant minister during Ellen Johnson's solid leadership, still denigrated the government. Frankly, this is a complete hypocrisy for President George Weah. And OKFM, we opposition are not against development as claimed by President Weah and his supporters. But the right deal or loan is what we want President Weah to take instead of placing our country in an unrealistic debt that cannot be paid even 20 years to come. OKFM Minister Mambutu Yimpan and Justice Minister Musa Dane are deeply aware of the danger this Eton financing loan deal has, but they are forced to defend President Weah, or else they will be dismissed prematurely. Let me commend the three political parties for coming together at this crucial time of our country. Look, it's never too late to fight President Weah and his children democratically. OKFM, our fight will be is going to be constructive and not toting casket like Moba Molu, Akaros Gray, and others in CDC did when they were in oppositions. And this one is by James Naplasco Fala of Soningwen, District 8. He writes, and this one says, good morning, Liberia fastest growing radio and internet station, OKFM Liberia, and the listening public across the globe. OKFM, did I hear collaboration of three opposition political parties to critique this administration? Then they hiding under the canopy of holding the government accountable to the construction of the people? Wow, we get to that one later. Let's take this development. The United States Agency for International Development Mission Director Anthony Chen wants the government to adapt policies and strategies that are attainable and achievable. Chen, speaking in Monrovia Monday, also stated that policies are earmarked by the government of President George Weah must also entail the solutions intended to address challenges the country is faced with.
It means that the optimism associated with the advent of a new administration vested with a democratic mandate should provide fresh opportunities for looking at the way we operate and for, frankly, assessing and fashioning solutions to the challenges that Liberia faces. It means Liberia's government and their donor and development partners will invest scarce development resources wisely so they result in the greatest returns to poverty reduction. It means that goals will be realistic, achievable, and significant to match the high expectations of the Liberian people. It means that the requisite commitment and political will to doing the right things necessary for the Liberian people will be manifest at the highest levels. It means harnessing the powerful potential of Liberia's youth into a positive force for development through smart investments in health, education, entrepreneurship, job skills development, and employment. And it means fostering the type of environment that will make Liberia increasingly self-reliant as the economy grows and the country becomes a powerful magnet for productive and prosperity-producing investment.
Anthony Chen is the United States Agent for International Development Mission Director. The African Center for Disease Control and Prevention, based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and National Public Health Institute from the continent have converged in Monrovia for a two-day forum to deliberate on data warehousing, sharing, and timely use of public health impact. Speaking at the start of the forum in Monrovia Monday, National Public Health Institute of Liberia Director General Todwa Yenswa said such gathering was important as Liberia is building a resilient health system in Liberia. He told delegates attending forum that Liberia has made enormous gains, judging from the fight against the deadly Ebola virus in Liberia.
And we managed to also safely contain diseases so that they don't cross the border and cause problem in our region. These have been very, very much difficult pre-Ebola, and so post-Ebola we've seen the progress made in training, capacity building, preventing, detecting, and responding to disease outbreak. And we are doing all of these things in the context of the Feed Epidemiology Program, which is a flagship program for training our healthcare workers in disease surveillance. We're looking at very closely the integrated disease surveillance and response by WHO. We're also looking at very, very seriously the IHR core capacities, issue of port of entries, the global health security agenda, antimicrobial resistance, and looking at the joint external evaluation that we all are monitoring those indicators. Liberia have had external and internal evaluation of the JEE. We saw our scores. We know very well where we made progress. We know areas that we have challenges, and we are monitoring those areas to improve our system. One lessons that we learned from the Ebola crisis was the issue of having timely, accurate, efficient data to respond to an outbreak. And so when John mentioned that they were coming to Liberia to look at data warehousing, data collection, sharing, Liberia took it very, very seriously. And John, we are excited that you are here today on the ground to look at a very critical issue. Research and development data are also important. I remember
National Public Health Institute of Liberia Director General Todwa Yenswa. Also speaking, the country director of the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention, D. John Kengason, expressed joy for the collaboration amongst public health institutions through the sharing of data collection.
By participating NPHIs, and then secondly to promote the culture of sharing of data and information. I think data and information is key. And the description of what we're trying to achieve under each objective is clearly stated here. One is to discuss the opportunity to effectively acquire and warehouse and use data by NPHIs for the things I mentioned earlier, influence policy and take action. Identify capacity to do all of this. To address the data spectrum, we need capacity building. And then if you go to data sharing there, to look at, discuss opportunities that will allow us to better coordinate and then identify the near and long-term opportunities for collaboration. Over breakfast, somebody said, why did you invite this handful of NPHIs?
He's the country director of the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention, D. John Kigason. Back to your text reaction coming into our Facebook page. Good morning, Liberia, fastest growing radio and internet TV station, OKFM Liberia, and the listening public across the globe. OKFM, did I hear collaboration of 3 opposition political parties to critique this administration? Then they hiding under the canopies of holding the government accountable to the constitution of the people. OKFM, I think we need to do away with this way back opposition ideology that the ruling party should always fail and put hands around this government to succeed. Meanwhile, if the Eton loan agreement has no constitutional violation and will mean well for the Liberian people, there shouldn't be any delay by the legislators. From a comfort zone in the Elfi community, underrepresented district number 9, I remain Michael Ting Positive Bender. And this one says, the loan and pre-financing agreement for infrastructure development is very necessary and timely. The economic benefits of these roads projects are very huge, and I'm of the conviction that Liberia will repay the loan within the stipulated time frame. Ja Quason writes, good morning, OK Newsnet. I know the opposition parties will somersault after the elections, but one thing they should understand is that the country giant is in control of the weeds for 12 years, if possible 24 years in the near future. Life in opposition for just 5 months have not Unity Party and Liberty Party out of track. CDC held opposition spots for 12 years, which 2 consecutive terms without shaking. They are praying for President Weah to fail, but they are in total commotion by the ongoing developments and the one in the pipeline in just 5 months of President Weah's first term. But there are more developments to come in the coming days. I write from my comfort zone in Doe community, and this one is from Sekou Janga Islam Fufana. He writes, this one says, good morning, OKFM and the resilient people of Beargona Town, 10 District, Bomi County. The Eton loan agreement entered into by this corrupt government lack all legality, but the Justice Minister have to say this because he is defending his salary. As for the Public Works Minister, he is defending that loan because he has his cut. I think by now Liberians will have learned the mistake of others like Ghana, who is now struggling to settle loans. But if you put in inexperienced players on the field, these are some of the results you get. From a resident in Brewerville, J. Ansu Coleman, he writes, and this one says, good morning, OKFM and the productive young people of Doe community, where the people are eating the fruits of the pro-poor agenda. I think the opposition community is potentially dying in Liberia. They are not prepared to even take this country for the next 50 years. I must admit that the CDC's government positive semblance is a direct catalyst of good leadership. This government in less than 6 months have put Liberia on the curve of economic recovery. Additionally, if it takes this government to borrow $4 billion loan in order to build roads, I strongly support it. We can't have a country that can't sit on the table of modern infrastructure with the pro-poor Liberia shall rise again. Mohammed A. Dukle from the United Methodist University writes, this one says the UP-led government was also too difficult to take from power, and then Congress for Democratic Change needed to form a coalition in order for them to take state power. So when other opposition political parties come together, there is nothing wrong with that. After all, they are all opposition party, and as such, they should speak in one direction. Bravo UPLP and ANC for that formidable decision. We are strongly behind you. And to this development now, The Ministry of Transport has refuted reports that it fails to carry out the much-publicized vehicle inspection that was scheduled to take place Monday, June 4, 2018. Speaking to the station, the head of the Inspection Division at the Ministry of Transport, Abraham Johnson, said the exercise is ongoing as promised.
No, there's no problem, to speak towards the cancellation of the enforcement exercise. The enforcement exercise is going. There are stakeholders, in the arrangement, in the inspection process that they told us that they really want to be a part. So we need to recognize their role too. So as I said, there are more stakeholders engagement that to keep up the process. So they say today that the process is cancelled. No, the enforcement process is ongoing. There is no cancellation of the enforcement process. That's the point I want to stress here. Everybody should believe the inspection has been cancelled. No. Therefore, when we appear on your radio station, we were speaking in our respective capacity from the Liberia National Police and the Ministry of Transport.
The head of the Inspection Division at the Ministry of Transport, Abraham Johnson. The acting managing director of the National Port Authority, Madam Cecilia Coffee Brown, has boasted of significant achievement in the last 90 days of her administration. Speaking at the weekend, the NPA boss noted that the National Port Authority has successfully signed a MOU with the APM terminals on cargo handling and marine service. According to Madam Brown, the new deal, which mandates the APM terminal to pay 15% royalty on annual revenue coupled with other benefits to the National Port Authority, will also help boost the country's fragile economy.
Our administration has succeeded in signing a new deal through an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, which focuses on both the marine service and the weighbridge operation at the National Port Authority's Freeport of Monrovia. Our compliments will not have been achieved without the full support of President George Manawia. The President's vision and love for country has facilitated the gains we made. Consistent with this new agreement, APM terminals will begin to pay 15% royalty on total annual revenue gross from the marine services. After the National Port Authority has received 15% of the total revenue, then expenditure and taxes will be taken out.
Acting Managing Director of the National Port Authority, Madam Cecilia Coffee Brown. Let's now rejoin Augustine KOLLIE to bring us foreign developments.
Former Nigerian football star Nwango Kanu had 11,000 stolen from his bag during the weekend while traveling from Russia's Shetimvo airport in the capital Moscow to the province of Kaliningrad along the Baltic coast, the Moscow Times reports. The Nigerian 41 was on his way to take part in a FIFA Legends game on Sunday ahead of the World Cup tournament, which kicks off on 14 June. Kaliningrad is one of 11 Russian cities that will host matches. Russia's Interior Ministry said the full baggage handles and had been detained after Kanu discovered the money missing after arriving in Kaliningrad. Tanzanian conjoined twins Mariat and Kosolat Makwiti have died at the age of 21 after suffering respiratory complications at a local hospital. The women, who were joined from the navel downwards and shared organs like the liver and lungs, had two hearts and separate heads and arms. They were admitted to hospital in December due to issues relating to heart disease, but died on Saturday. The twins were popular in Tanzania, and the news has caused sadness nationwide. Many people took to social media on Sunday to send messages of condolence to the family and friends. Tanzanian President John Magufuli tweeted that he was saddened by their deaths, adding that Consolata and Maria had a dream of serving the nation. The foreign news.
Augustine KOLLIE there, bringing us to the end of today's presentation of NewsNet. Before leaving you a recap of stories we closely followed. CDC's propose government too difficult to handle individually by opposition parties. Former governing Unity Party, long-time opposition Liberty Party, and newcomers Alternative National Congress join ranks to tackle government and its policies. Public Works Minister Mabutu Yimpan goes on Capitol Hill in defense of the passage of the 536 million Eton loan, says the country needs the money for development. At launch of the Cloud Hope Foundation, Minister of State says the government is not moved by the criticism from the public, but you said country manager Anthony Chen challenges government to adopt policies that are achievable. And away from Liberia, $11,000 stolen from former Nigerian footballer Kanun on his way from Russia capital Moscow. We would like to say many thanks to our news director, editor, correspondents, and many reporters for successfully packaging this edition. Augustine KOLLIE was here with the news bulletin and later brought to you foreign developments. Jimmy Wilson sat at controls and produced the sound. And on behalf of the entire team here at OK Communications Incorporated, I presented Olive Stevenson. Do have yourself a pleasant morning. And for more news on this station, you can log on to www.okfmlr.com. Thanks for watching and listening.